Welcome in, everybody, to another week of UFL Weekly. I am Kyle Krajewski, joined by this lovely, beautiful man, Zach Cole. Zach, we had week one of the UFL come into play. Took place this past weekend. It was a beautiful weekend. I'm just pumped that it happened.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, and it really, I think our perceptions of the league upside down a little bit, and I think that's a good thing.
A
Honestly, I
welcome
think
thing.
a definitely welcome thing. I think you and I, a little maybe to our own fault, came in a little XFL heavy and biased, and we were proved wrong. So I think that shows one that there's going to need to be some improvement on the XFL division side of the league, and I think too it shows that the USFL division isn't here to mess around. So it's good for the league. I think healthy.
Yeah, I incredibly healthy. We saw basically two matchups this past weekend where USFL division took on XFL division, and the USFL teams came out on top in both of those. And then the two inner XFL and USFL games took place as well. But basically, quick notes here: we had no single digit games. Thank goodness. Every team scored double digits. Happy to see that. We saw a lot of that specifically in the XFL last year, but I'm
Mhm.
happy we didn't see that this weekend. And it was I don't know, I feel like it was a really well played out weekend. I think we had some really, every game pretty much felt really close and down to the wire to an extent. Again, 9 points is a one score game in this league.
Mhm.
Um, and just about all of them felt close to an extent for a majority of these games. So we'll get into kind of a quick week one recap going through each of these games, and then we'll do our week two picks and quick preview. Before we do that, we are UFL Weekly, where we just hang out here and discuss the UFL weekly. We are here. You follow probably either watching us or listening to us. If you're watching us, you can listen to us on wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are listening to us, you can look at our beautiful faces on YouTube at UFL Weekly. Just search UFL Weekly and you'll probably find us somewhere. Hopefully. So without further ado, let's get into these week one recaps, just going through game by game, just chatting a little bit of there. So, game one took place on Saturday, the Battle of the Champions from the XFL and the USFL, where the Birmingham Stallions came out on top over the Arlington Renegades, 27-12. Ooh, what a win!
Mhm. Yeah, I think before we even get into anything about the game, this was just a really cool look at the UFL overall and a return to form. There were a
Yeah,
couple stars that came to the game. I know Troy Aikman was there, obviously The Rock and Danny Garcia were there up in the box doing some commentary also and
was this
just
the
on the
game
league.
that Dion was at?
Yes, I believe it was. I believe it was. So just it's good. That's really healthy for the sport, and that shows that these guys who are NFL level talent, NFL level commentators are also kind of validating the league in that sense, and are showing like, hey, we care about this league too.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. Just again, the stars coming out and just seeing a lot of these recognizable faces show up and be like, "Hey, this thing's legit." And even just the
Yeah.
aftermath. I mean, we could probably dive into this later, but the aftermath, like we're seeing Pat McAfee started a show on Monday, just chatting all things UFL. He had a few of the UFL guys on it on the broadcast, some of the guys from Big Plays that we'll discuss here shortly. But I mean, Pat McAfee has a huge platform, and just seeing him just really accept and really enjoy talking all things UFL was really exciting to see. So yeah, it's just exciting to see the name UFL chatted about all over the place.
Yeah, and diving into the Stallions Renegades game, like the actual action that happened, it was a little bit of an up and down affair for both teams, I would say. The Renegades kind of came out hot. They came out with a little bit of swagger and jumped out to an early lead on the Stallions behind Luis Perez. We expected Luis Perez to be one of the more poised kind of confident quarterbacks in the league coming off the XFL championship last year. But jumping into this game, he kind of got a little shaky as the game went on. I mean, there were some, I believe he had an interception in this game, and just kind of really wasn't as sharp as we were him to be in this first game back. And on the other side, the quarterback battle was a little shaky too. It started out with Matt Corral, who we were all expecting really big things from, and he was pretty early on. I want to say, Kyle, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think he made it out of the first quarter as quarterback, or maybe it was early on in the second.
I muted myself for some reason. I think what we kind of understated or kind of ignored going into this game was the expectation that Birmingham was going into this season with expectations of playing both of their quarterbacks. I think we kind of went into this game really expecting the typical one QB system, but we kind of saw it immediately, and a lot of people were worried, me included, me especially, where we saw Corral and Martinez kind of flip flop back and forth. Where I think initially I took that as, oh no, Corral's lost his spot already. They're benching him immediately. But I think then I recalled all the things about this team wanting to run both of their quarterbacks. I think the head coach has even said that they are both starting caliber quarterbacks, so he's going to use them as such. Completely missed that previous week, so apologize for missing all that. But yeah, Corral and Martinez, I think moving forward, I think Martinez got a little banged up this week, so they kind of focused heavily on using Corral. But they didn't look great to start the game. Kind of got into, I think Corral specifically got into his rhythm once it was kind of fully handed into his hands. But yeah, expect the Stallions team to use two QBs, and Corral's not losing his job immediately, at least.
Yeah, and I think that that's something we need to get used to in this league is that despite what we know in the NFL, where there are guys who become franchise quarterbacks and are being the guy every single week, week in and week out, until they
Yeah,
really, 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 really underperform. I think we're going to see, like you said, a hybrid situation with the quarterbacks here, especially with Matt Corral and with Adrian Martinez. It was obvious that Martinez was more of a rushing threat in this game,
yeah,
and Corral was more of the passing threat. But Corral really kind of got on track in this game. He threw a dot to Deion Kane. It's our, if you check out our Twitter, it's our new avatar, new Aviar. So take a look at that. He did a flying snow angel right into the UFL logo. It was
it was
perfect. You
beautiful,
know,
beautiful shot.
the the marketing guys couldn't have planned one any better for him to do that right into the logo. So, but that really kind of was the catalyst for the game, and they wrapped up the game on a 24-3 run, and that was kind of all she wrote. The Stallions ran away there and really never looked back at the Renegades. So the final in that one was 27-12. The Stallions took down
14.
the Renegades in week 1.
27-14. I think I have 12
I'm sorry,
here.
27-14. Sorry.
I had 12 down. That's on me. I had 12 in the show sheet. I'm looking at the scoreboard right now. 27-14.
Yeah,
My apologies there. I'm just
it's
setting
all
you
good.
up for failure.
No worries, it's all good. I'm just reading the score sheet here.
I
But
get
yeah,
it.
I thought that this game was fun to look at and was just kind of a nice warm up back into the
It
UFL.
was an incredible, just, I don't know. It felt great to just say, hey, put football on. It's Saturday in the spring. Put some football on.
Yeah.
And it was different. I mean, I say different. We've had it for the past 5 springs, except one. I just love it. I just love the atmosphere of spring football, and we had it. And it was just felt good. Just felt good to have spring football back on, and I'm just absolutely stoked that it's here. So,
Absolutely.
moving on to game 2 of the weekend, second game on Saturday, we saw the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL face the Michigan Panthers of the USFL, and the Michigan Panthers came out on top in Ford Field in a stunner. This was probably one of the best games of the week, probably the best game of the weekend. 18-16, Panthers win, and Zach, I'll let you kind of highlight the rest of the game, but I think we can just cut to the chase, and that the real story here was this Jake Bates 64-yard game-winning field goal with like 3 seconds remaining after it just bullseyed right in. I remember seeing it and being like, they're going for this. And then also seeing it, he hit it twice, didn't he? Because he hit it and then they iced him. And
They
then he
had
had to
yes.
go and hit it again. And both times nailed it to win the game, too. Shocking. Love that. Love that for a kickoff of a new league, or basically league of opportunity. And you've got this guy coming in, just nailing a 64-yard field goal.
It's funny. I think you brought up the icing. I think I saw a quote from him somewhere. He was like, "I didn't even know icing was a thing," or something like that. So it's I mean, just kind of balls of steel on that one to hit it twice. And the whole story is that he allegedly hasn't hit a field goal since high school, or a meaningful kick since high school, or something along those lines. I saw somewhere he was with the Texans in camp for a little bit last year, just doing some extra points, some place kicking stuff. But still, that doesn't diminish this incredible feat here.
Yeah, the thing I've seen is that he has not won. Well, the first thing that was initially circulating is that he hasn't hit a field goal since high school. However, that's since been debunked in that even in high school, he didn't kick a field goal. This guy's just been an extra point specialist and just probably nailing these 70-yard field goals in practice. And coaches is constantly probably just like, we're going to keep going for it on offense. But I just never completed a field goal. That's not to say he hasn't done it in practice. He hasn't done it in like scrimmages. But in a game where he's even been the kicker in preseason games with the Texans, he was just hitting extra points. So he's got this experience of lining up doing field goals,
hmm
but not field goals, just an extra points. And this guy just walks out and nails a 64-yard twice, pretty much. Can you? What do you think? Like him hitting it and then getting iced, and then like having it hit there, and then do you think the entire team was just like, oh, all right, we're not sweating this anymore. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it
Yeah,
again.
either that or it's the lightning in the bottle theory where holy crap, this guy did that, but too bad count, like I
Yeah,
don't know what the feeling was. I would assume if your guy can hit a 64 yarder, you got to be feeling good, just at the fact that he has the leg to make it. So if he did it
yeah,
once, then he's definitely got the leg to get it there again.
yeah. And rumor has it he's already getting some NFL buzz. I saw his name specifically linked with the Lions.
Mm.
I'm not upset about that. He hit that 64-yarder in Ford Field. Uh, Not surprising, but we still got a season ahead of us.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
the
64
Lions have been
yards.
a team that has taken risks on these different kickers before. I don't know if we remember the name Hard Rugland at all, but that was
Oh,
a
Kickalicious.
Kickalicious. That was a name that they kind of took a flyer on. So they've done some things before. But just another couple points I want to mention, Kyle, in this game.
Please.
Obviously the kick was the highlight of the game, but the Battlehawks were not great in this game whatsoever. We highlighted last week. We kind of spent some time oozing over the receiving core for the Battlehawks, and they only amassed 109 passing yards, receiving yards for McCarron and the receiving core. So that was just a little kind of bizarre to me, that we were expecting this offense to be so potent, and it just kind of came out flat. But outside of that, on the Michigan side, they weren't anything necessarily spectacular on offense either. EJ Perry won another game as starter, which is always a great thing. Now he's 2-0 in the regular season. Woo.
Good for
So
him.
undefeated. But for the Panthers, I think their passing diversity was kind of cool, or their passing game diversity. They had nine receivers catch a pass in this game, and only two of them. I'm sorry, only the most receptions anyone had on the team was two, which is just kind of an insane stat when you think about it. And really, what we knew was going to be one of the highlights. Wes Hills, who was the USFL rushing leader in 2023, is still the rushing leader after week one. I would say, the most impressive rushing performance with 85 yards on 11 carries. So he was just a scooch under, what is that? Just a scooch under 8 a carry there. So, pretty impressive performance for him. But I think highlight you mentioned. This was not an expected outcome. We talked about the Battlehawks as being one of the favorites to win the championship, and the Panthers is one of the least favorites to win the championship. And here we are. Anything can happen.
And we'll touch on it again, and we'll probably touch on this several times this season. That's the beauty of it all. We went into this season with expectations, and as much as it's good to have expectations, I am so happy that they were different, that things just shook out in a different way, because you can't go into a league and be like, oh, it's going to look like this. Because if it does, then it's just everybody's expecting it. But when it shakes out like nobody else has expected, or at least the majority of people haven't expected, that's the beauty of it. Give me the USFL being the dominant division. Give me these tough 64-yard requirement game-winning field goals. Let these guys shine in the trenches. Let's see it, because this was a beautiful weekend of just good football in my eyes. And if we see this all season, I'm happy. I'm ecstatic.
We're in business.
Speaking of, I guess a unexpected outcome, the San Antonio Brahmas took care of business against the DC Defenders. We talked about this last week, just looking at kind of a season's odds of just what the sports books have at who's winning the championship. And the Defenders were third, but like just a step behind the Battlehawks and the Stallions. And the Brahmas were dead last. Here we are, San Antonio, and we talked about this last week too, that the Brahmas could be the surprise team, a fun, surprising team. And sure enough, that's exactly what they were this weekend. The Brahmas had just a hold on this game all game. Pretty much, I mean, at halftime, they were up 20-9. I don't know if I said the score, 27-12. I feel like I just glossed over that. 27-12. Up 20-9 at half. It was, and again, a 9-point game is still a 1-point game. But DC was in scoring position, kind of middle of the fourth, trying to get things back in their hands, maybe just like make a move, catch up, and then an interception with just a full, almost 100% touchdown return. I think they got stopped at like the 10 or 5 yard line. Just brought it back, and then the Brahmas were able to just waltz it right in for that to go up 27. And it was just, you could tell it was just, that was the icing on the cake. Like, oh, all right, Brahmas got this in the bag. What was surprising and just, I guess, something to point out, this Defenders team didn't score a touchdown, and it really looks like they missed Abram Smith, the running back they lost to an ACL tear just a few weeks ago. They looked fine. Just looking at, I mean, Jordan Ta'amu and is now currently leading the league in receiving or passing yards. Ty Scott of the Defenders is currently leading the league in receiving yards. So these guys are going to have to pass, but pass more efficiently. So they had to abandon their run-heavy game plan early. Ta'amu threw the ball 45 attempts, which he did not see last year. And it just... It looked like DC looked flat kind of coming into this season.
Yeah, and I think a good way to put it, they kind of lost their identity with Abram Smith not being in there, and the rushing attack was not. They leaned on that so heavily last year that with that missing, or that just kind of being, I don't want to say missing, but kind of out of sync, it was just obvious that they weren't necessarily comfortable. But on the other side of the field, the Brahmas were extremely comfortable on the offensive side. It was incredible to watch. Chase Garbers was really, really good. And I think I just want to kind of hop back a step, just talking about the offense overall. Wade Phillips, we've seen now 2 years in a row. He does such a good job getting his teams ready to go and put up points in week one. We saw last year with the Roughnecks that they were putting up like 30 points a game week in and week out for the first like 6 weeks of the season last year. And now he's the head coach of the Brahmas, and it's clear that they're doing something pretty similar. with putting up 27, tied for the most in the league. So Garbus was really good. Garbus threw for 3 total touchdowns in this game, one of which was to Jerry Kirkland, who you shouted this week, Kyle. He's one of the most electric guys in the league. So
Back, baby.
great to see him have a good game, and he's already leading the league in receptions with 8. He's just like about as safe as it comes. I mean, he's really pretty impressive as a player, and it's immediate. It's obvious how immediate of an impact he has on any offense.
And as we wrap up this game, we got to talk about this play, Zach.
Of course we do. We'd be remiss
I
if
know.
didn't
I
talk
know.
about
We
that
talked
play.
a lot about the 64-yarder, but until this play happened, that was easily the 64-yarder was play of the weekend. Until this one came along, the San Antonio Brahmas with I'm looking at the play right now with 14 seconds left, lined up to kick a 58-yard field goal. You know, you got Destroying back there about to kick his first field goal attempt in a professional football game.
A 58-yarder.
58-yarder. And I almost feel like the defender should have been tipped off at that to be like, oh, hold on. But at the same time, we just saw Jake Bates
They saw the
basically do the same
64.
thing. They just saw somebody walk in with no, I guess, field goal
Yeah.
experience and just do it the day before. So maybe cut some slack. But they come in, they line up for this, and then immediately it's just like, oh, wait, are they punting? This looks weird. They're faking it. They go for a fake field goal, and it is just like mayhem. You could very much tell the punter, who was the holder, Brad Wang, kind of steps back, and he's just like, all right, who's this going to? And I think even in the interviews, they're like, it was not going to go to. It was not designed to go to this guy, and he just chucks it up to a wide open center. I think he was lined up a little outside, but he's the team center. And he's gunning it, middle of the field, wide open, catches it, and he does like just a big man dive into the end zone as he's getting tackled by multiple guys, and it's touchdown. It was bonkers. One of those things that shouldn't have happened, but did because it's spring football. Insane. So yeah, they did that
glorious.
going. It was beautiful. If you haven't seen it, please look it up. It's actually on our channel if you want to find that. But beautiful play. Well, somehow really well executed. And that's what kind of put the Brahmas up 20-9 going into half.
Yeah.
Insane.
And that just kind of sealed the deal. So just to kind of recap, put the cherry on top of this one, the Brahmas won this game 27-12. And the last game that kind of pulled us into the final game of the weekend, which was on Easter Sunday as well, the afternoon evening game, which was the Showboats and Roughnecks. So Kyle, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us the quick and narrow of this game.
Yeah, the Showboats kind of took control of this game really early. They had just clock control the entire game. Started off the game with a 10.5-minute drive, ending with the field goal, and then just immediately the Roughnecks get the ball and then fumble it, and the Showboats return that for a touchdown. So immediately they're up 9-0 after draining almost the entire quarter just to score those 2 times. And the Roughnecks are just like, okay, let's try to keep up with this. And then middle of the second, Case Cookus hit Vince Papal with a beautiful toe drag catch there for a touchdown. And they just held on to that lead kind of going in throughout the rest of the game. So the Showboats just held on to this game with really solid play from Case Cookus. And then just dominant, I guess, clock control. They just held on to the ball, managed that clock the entire game, and just almost made it impossible for the Roughnecks to kind of get any momentum and get things rolling. One huge – oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say this was a defensive struggle, 100%. This was we saw early on in the game, we saw a fumble recovery, and we saw Christian McFarland with the defensive touchdown. We saw Reuben Foster. That was for the Showboats. We saw Reuben Foster interception for the Roughnecks. Just a defensive battle, kind of back and forth. No one either the defenses were really good and they were preventing the offensives from from scoring, or no one wanted to get anything going on offense. It was somewhere in the middle of those two, I think. But definitely with the defensive touchdown, with the interception, the fumble recovery, it felt like a defensive battle.
For sure, for sure. And I think we saw probably the best defensive performance of the weekend on the Roughneck side. Reuben Foster,
Mm-hmm.
we know the name. Star of the show for the Roughnecks with both an interception and a fumble recovery. Left the game a little bit early in the fourth, but we've been told it's just a cramp. So he's going to be a guy that is just going to have his name on the stat sheets for the rest of the season, I think.
I think, Kyle, this is a complete sidebar, but one of the things that I think I've got a bone to pick right now with the UFL and even last year with the XFL is when you're trying to find injury news on these guys, it is so hard. Like, you can't just look up Reuben Foster injury or whatever and find news on it. Like, you look up Reuben Foster injury and it tells you about his left ACL and LCL tear from 2019. Like, come on,
Yeah.
it would be a little more helpful if they kind of blasted out some injury news more often.
Yeah, they're not the best at it, but I have seen that they're trying to do better at it with injury reports
Absolutely.
kind of as the week comes on. But you're right. It's just like, all right, Ruben, what happened to you? And just kind of waiting for either him to say something and just say, it's just a cramp, I'm good. Like we saw Teamu left the game early on Sunday from the Defenders, and everybody's just like, oh, great, what's this going to look like without Teamu now? I think same thing. He got the wind knocked out of him, and they were like, all right, we're going to sit you for the rest of this game.
Well, and even Adrian Martinez too. We saw him with a leg, ankle, knee, something injury, and who knows? I'm
And
sure.
I've actually heard nothing but two QBs moving forward. So I can only assume he's
Oh,
just had
cool.
just sitting on the sidelines, just like, oh, I'll be good next week, coach. Don't worry. So
Uh,
I'm hoping that the injuries get a little bit more transparent, and I know that the UFL is trying to do that as the season goes on, especially if they're going to kind of keep the betting and the DFS happy. I think they kind of
right.
have to be.
Yes.
So
Very transparent. Yep. Good point.
they're working on it. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah.
All right, Zach. That was week one. Let's talk
In the,
some
in
week
the
two.
books. Let's look
Week
at it.
one in the books. This league, it's happening.
It
We're on to
is.
week
It's
two.
underway. No
Oh,
turning back now.
thank goodness. I was really
Thank
hoping
God.
we wouldn't get that turnaround in like mid-February and be like, actually, never mind. But
the
no, we're
old,
here.
the
We
old.
got
We
this.
call that the 2020.
Oh, brother. All right, week two. We did our picks last week. We kind of both fell a little in the middle there. I went
Rough.
4 for 4, and Zach went 3 for 5. Zach, I'm really hoping we look a little bit better this week.
I'm hoping so too. Yep.
The fans count on this. So if you're just tuning in, or if you didn't pay attention last week, what we're doing is we just kind of look at the games that are happening this weekend. Just quick look at the matchups, and we look at the lines that specifically DraftKings has these set at. And we aren't giving our betting advice on what to make the picks. This is just like, oh, I'll take that, or yeah, sure, I think the Battlehawks are going to beat the Renegades by 4. It's because the line's set at -4. So this isn't betting advice. Please don't take it as that. This is us just being like, oh yeah, let's make 2 picks over under and spread on these games, just to kind of give you guys, the listener, the watcher,
Yeah.
our vibes on these games moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Well put.
Let's kick us off this weekend, Saturday, April 6th at 12 p.m. Eastern. The San Antonio Brahmas take on the Memphis Showboats, both 1-0. We've got the San Antonio Brahmas favorited at -1.5. Over under set at 40.
I think I'm going to open this one up and take the Brahmas -1.5 in this one. I think that offense really kind of wowed me in week one. And I think we saw an outstanding defensive performance from the Showboats. We talked about them as being one of the best defenses in week one.
Yeah.
But 27 points is a lot of points to score. And for an offense on the other side that didn't look too potent, I do think that's going to be points are going to be hard to come by for them, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to go minus 1.5 for the Brahmas here. And
Yep.
I will go ahead and take the over game. I
All
like
right.
The Brahmas offense. I think that they're going to put up points again, and I expect the Showboats to kind of fill in the blank.
I'm going to join you on San Antonio Brahmas minus 1.5. I think this offense may be my favorite in the league as of now. I think that one, they've got John J. Kirkland, but two,
Mm-hmm.
they just looked on fire on Sunday. And then I'm going to take the under. I'm actually going to kind of root for this Showboats defense, keep things a little bit tame. But I can't say I have a lot of faith in that Showboats or offense. So um, lower points here, good defense on the Showboats, but ultimately see the Brahmas kind of pulling out a couple points above.
Beautiful.
Next up, we've got the 0-1 Arlington Renegades facing off the 0-1 St. Louis Battlehawks. Saturday, April 6th at 8 p.m. We've got a night game.
Nightcap.
The Battlehawks are favored at -4. Over under set at 41.5. Let's hear it.
Well, I feel really good about one of these picks. The other one I'm kind of iffy about, and that's actually going to my spread pick here. I'm a little iffy. I'm not sure. I part of me feels like the Battlehawks were down, but part of me feels like the Renegades also have more in the tank than what they showed last week as
Mm.
well. But I'm going to go ahead and bank on the receiving core, the offense, AJ McCarron returning to form. I'm going to go ahead and take the Battlehawks -4 in this game. I like them to win by about a touchdown or so. And despite trusting in the offense, I don't think it's going to be a firework game, and I'm going to take the under on 41.5. I think
Ooh,
that we're going to see a lower scoring affair, especially from particularly the Renegades, I think.
I like it. I am, again, joining you on the St. Louis -4. I This offense looks too good, or I guess on paper looks too good to, I guess, repeat what they did last week. And that's a dud. I think this has got to be a get right week against a familiar foe and an XFL opponent. And I picture them scoring. And because of that, I'm taking the -4 and taking the over 41.5. Come on, Luis Perez. Let's see some
Interesting.
points on the other side.
Very interesting. All right, I'll go ahead and introduce our next game here, Kyle. We have the Birmingham Stallions visiting the Michigan Panthers. The Stallions are coming in at 1-0, and the Panthers are also coming in at 1. This game is on Sunday at 12 p.m., and the favored team in this game is the Birmingham Stallions by 6.5 points, and the over/under is currently set at 41 points. So, where are you leaning?
I think I'm gonna take Birmingham -6.5. I'm
Mm,
gonna hate this. I'm gonna hate that I'm doing this. Birmingham -6.5. I think they are 6.5 points better than this Panthers team. However, I think the Panthers have a really good defense.
mm.
And because of that, I'm going to take the under. I think the Panthers offense may look a little slow again. Stallions will put up some points,
Mhm.
but I think the Panthers are going to be able to hold down the Stallions and keep this game under 41.
It's actually kind of interesting to note, Kyle. In this game, there's a team obviously every week that's a plus however many points, and a team that's a minus however many points. Every other game is the plus and the minus both at 110. This is the only game where the team that is favored to win is plus the spread is minus 120, and the team that is the underdog is minus 120, and
Interesting.
the underdog is plus 100. So the sports book is definitely kind of showing that they are, even with the spread, still favoring the Stallions. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to follow suit with that. I'm going to take the Stallions -6.5.
Go
And
Stals.
I think I'm going to be with you again. I think I'm going to take the under 41 on this one. You hit the nail on the head. I think the Stallions offense is potent, but at the same time, I think that the Panthers have a very good defense. I'm envisioning something like a 2016-15 battle, something along those lines.
Yeah, even though that falls into
Correct. That wouldn't cover the spread. All right. Let's bump that down a little more. 20-12, we'll call
sure.
it.
Yeah, I think a lot of what I've been reading is that this Michigan Panthers defense is really good.
Legit.
And
Legit.
I
Yeah.
don't want to downplay that, but I also don't want to downplay how good the Stallions are overall.
Yeah.
So let's go Birmingham -6.5 and give me the under for both of us.
Yeah, my boy Scooby Wright's a dog for the Birmingham
Dude,
Stallions.
he looks incredible. And he's a
He's
force. He's
awesome.
all over X or Twitter.
Hey,
So if you're
he's
on there,
fun.
give him a follow. He's a fun
Definitely
guy.
fun. All right, so the last game of the week is the Houston Roughnecks, who unfortunately fell in week 1 and are 0-1, at the DC Defenders, who also fell and are 0-1 as well. This is the Sunday 4 o'clock game. The Defenders are favored by 5 points in this game, so the Defenders -5, the Roughnecks +5, and the over/under is also set out of 41s this week. That is also set at 41.
Huh.
So, what are you liking, Kyle?
Interesting. Give me. Ooh, the Roughnecks offense did not look good, so I'm taking DC -5.
Okay.
I think again, similar to St. Louis, I think we get to see a get right. I think we see a DC team who realized that they need to change some things up on offense, and I think they do that. I think we see some changes here offensively for the Defenders against, again, a familiar foe
Mhm.
and an XFL team. Actually, sorry, the Roughnecks are not the Roughnecks anymore.
Kinda,
Um,
sorta. Same jerseys.
yeah, same jerseys, but all right, scrap that concept. But either way, I think it's a get right game for DC. I think they kind of took this loss from San Antonio and are just like, okay, let's relook at things, readjust, and I think they do so. I think they've got too much talent to not. So give me DC -5. I don't think the Roughnecks have it in them to score and keep up with that. And because of that, again, give me the under. Under 41. I'm not happy with the unders this week. I think I think the defense in the UFL is actually really good.
Mhm.
And I'm not upset about that. Give me these low scoring, give me the 18-16 games. I love it so much. So, yeah,
Well,
DC -5, under 41.
I am going to follow suit with the under, but I'm gonna go.
Oh,
This is why this is hashtag not betting advice.
yeah.
I'm gonna go side just to be different from you. I'm gonna take the Roughnecks +5. I think that this is gonna
Give me
be
a close game.
an ugly slugfest. It's defenses, it's fun, it's football, it's Sunday 4 p.m.
Sunday 4 p.m. football. Yeah, I'm excited.
That's that's that Cardinals Seahawks punt fest that's just terrible and you want to get off your screen. That's what it is.
On a in a fall football game, but this is spring
In a
football.
correct. Yes, of course, of course.
Um, love it, love it, love it, love it. That was week 2 in our picks. And Zach, every game this week, the 1-0s are facing each other, and the 0-1s are
Yeah, how
facing
about
each
that?
other.
That's kind of interesting how that shaped up. So
We will not be able to see every team be 1-1.
I was gonna say that was gonna be my comment is we have a chance to, but then I thought about it. We don't. No, never mind. So we'll
Yeah,
have
I
some
had to
two and
do the
O's.
math
We'll
too.
have probably a bunch of 1-1s, and we'll have a couple 0-2s.
We have to actually.
Yep. Yep. Should be right. It has to be 2-2-0s, 4-1-1, and 2-0-2s.
Yeah, so if you're putting together any power rankings, you can already set your records. It's just you just have
Yep.
to change the logos.
Yep. You're gonna have a tie for 1, tie for 3, and then a tie for 7. Right, 7 and 8.
Yeah. So that'll do it for UFL Weekly. I want to plug picks, but the UFL app doesn't have them like the XFL
Mm.
app did last year. I saw our guy Uncle Squirrely is
Shout
back in the
out.
comments. Shout out Uncle Squirrely.
Huge
We
shout
miss
out.
you. We really wish we had these picks so we could compete in them again this year, but holding out hope. I keep refreshing the UFL app, hoping they'd have the picks competition. But
hey,
until
listen,
then,
we know Uncle Squirrely because he's always commenting. He's always in our ears about everything. So let that be a note to everyone out there listening. Please interact with us. Please, we read every comment. We like hearing from you guys. We want to interact. We want to shout you guys out. So please give us plenty of feedback.
tell us how bad our takes are. You can trash us, but please be respectful. But feel free to trash our takes. Tell us that you think the Defenders are going to be the worst team in the league. Tell me that. I want to hear it because I'll come back at you and be like, "Yeah, you're probably right." It's the Brahmas, best team in the league. So, yeah, interact, please. We want to kind of make this a little fun community.
Absolutely.
I'll be as best as I can at responding. Um,
Yep.
let's have some fun in the comments, guys. Especially you, Uncle Squirrely. Missed you, man. But that'll do it for this week of UFL Weekly. That was a quick, I guess, a longer week 1 recap and a quick week 2 preview. We appreciate you tuning in. Please comment, subscribe. If you're listening to us on podcast platform, give us several stars, preferably 5. But if you didn't like this at all, I understand. But please tell us why. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Let's go UFL. Let's go Bates. I want to see a 65-yarder this week. And that'll do it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. See you next week.
Yep.